Welcome back to the Forex Fortress, and a lot to talk about today. Want to follow up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis, obviously follow up on Dixie as well. Check out a little bit of Bitcoin action, maybe even some traditional markets here too. So with that in mind, a very quick announcement. So I spoke about it on this morning's video. If you want to gain access to the Discord, it's 100% free. Anyone's welcome to join. However, there is one big different thing about a Discord that you probably don't find in other Discords, and that's the fact that once you join the server, you're going to be given 10 minutes, literally just 10 minutes. You can obviously do this again though, to complete the verification that is going to be coming from our alt identifier security bot. And the way that that works is just going to prompt you with the private message in the top left hand corner of your Discord, and it'll send you a link. You go through the link, you verify yourself, whatever it wants, and then you've given up all your private information, so fuck you. No, just kidding. But more importantly, you just have to go through that, and then you'll get access to the general Discord, and all good. There's really only one rule in the Discord, and that is just be respectful to each other. You don't need to get along. You don't need to agree. Of course, that would not be realistic, but if you're going to have a disagreement with someone, first off, please don't do it with fucking politics. And second off, you know, it's better to use just civil language rather than like, you're stupid, you're dumb, no, you're retarded. It's like, this is just silliness right now. This is like high school and not even that. Anyways, let's focus down now on good old Dixie, my Dixie enormous today. And what do we see? Girlfriend's looking at my weird. Anyways, what do we see right here? So we have ground out this area once again at about 92.25-ish region, of which I am looking for, again, a macro bottom here. I do not think that this one is done just yet. And if we go down to the daily, actually, we do start to see a little bit more of what you would expect if this thing is going to try to put in a major low here, which I do still hold on to that. And that's going to really fit into the more long-term analysis for all of the major US dollar pairings, which we'll probably get to maybe later this week. But for right now, I still do look at this area as a nice, as a nice kind of baseline. So as long as we're seeing Dixie close weeklies, no less than that, but weeklies above about 92 bucks, especially. Doesn't matter if we get wicks below. In fact, I would even say that we're very likely to get wicks below, probably down below about 92 bucks. But as long as there's no closures below, I still look at this as likely to put in a macro low here and play off that with all the other major pairings. So take that as you will. Anyways, going down to the very low term timeframes here, which I really don't like doing on Dixie. I just don't think it works all that well. What would I say? Probably a little bit of short term sideways and up. And with that in mind, is that going to help round out the bias for all of our major US dollar pairings? Well, let's just take them one by one, because I've actually kind of found that this is less helpful with the way that the Forex market seems to work. What we actually see in the Forex markets is akin to rotations between all the major US dollar pairings. Some take kind of like the pole position, while others take a little more of a slump, and it typically kind of equals out over time, but that's less important than what we're going to talk about right now. So let's just go over here to Aussie Dollar. Let's follow from yesterday's short-term time frame target, which was, I think, somewhere up here at about 73.5 is what I remember from yesterday. Yeah, right around this wick area right here. We didn't get quite up exactly to 73.5. We got 73.40, close enough, and back down after that. I couldn't have told you that we're gonna crumble down straight after that as well. However, I do look at that as I do look at this kind of like a new day, and going into the low term timeframes right here. Yes, I would be looking for a little bit of short term downside, probably back down somewhere around about 72.5 base, and I'll be looking for another try back up after that. So a short term bounce around that region with short term downside. What about a 12-hour or a daily? Do we see anything of interest right here? Still bullish, actually. At least from what I do see on the daily. I do think that it's probably going to give another try up, ultimately just above 73 cents. But first and foremost, I'd be looking for a little bit of downside, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow, most likely. Long term, of course, heavily fucking bearish. Really shitty chart. Really fucking bad chart. So fair enough. Anyways, moving on to Cad Dollar. What do we see? Very, very similar here. We actually did hit our long term target right up towards 77.5 cents. Not bad. I wasn't looking for that to happen yesterday exactly, but hey, fair enough. That's why we do kind of plan these things out in advance, because timing not really something that can be done all that well in trading these markets. Short term, I would have said a little bit of downside here as well. However, kind of already played out that move. So what now? This might be one of those times where I just say, the daily probably still gives another try to the upside. Probably does at least try towards 77 cents once again. So I'd say that short-term time frames, though, I don't feel all that confident on. I'd essentially be looking sideways and up within this range. But I don't really want to say anything more than that. Probably another test towards 77 cents, though. And then I want to come back tomorrow and check out the low-term time frames once again. Let's go on to Swiss franc dollar. Jesus Christ, man. Swiss people, name your shit a normal name, please. Anyways, what do we see here? Yeah, I'd be looking for a bounce off this level right around about 109 region. I don't exactly remember what we said yesterday. I do remember, or actually no, I do remember 109.5 was a target to the downside. Obviously that target was hit and then exceeded in my sleeping hours, so wasn't paying attention obviously. I'd be looking for a bounce of this level once again. Probably does bounce back up over the next day or two, back up towards a little bit below about 110-ish region, based off both the lower term timeframes and the daily right here. So yes, I would be looking for a small bounce, and we'll come back to it tomorrow. I don't really have a strong opinion on the other timeframes. The weekly is very interesting here, mostly because if you're going to be looking at Dixie to maybe be putting in a macro low, we'd be looking at something like this, and most of the other major US dollar pairings, we'd be looking for them to put in major macro highs. And as it stands right now, I mean, this doesn't really look like it's heavily bearish. I really have a strong problem, or I have a big problem with being bearish in this one. As long as the weekly is above the 21, which is 108.5, I do think that we very likely test down there. But that doesn't imply that we break it. So I would still kind of refrain from making any more of a long-term decision on this one. But yeah, short-term, I'll be looking for a bouncy bounce backups. What did I say? About 109.5 to 110. 109.5 is right here. Yeah, probably just below about 110-ish region. All right, moving on. What do we got? Euro pound and a whole bunch of shit sandwich right here. And I would have been wrong on this one yesterday. I do believe yesterday I was looking for a move back up towards about just under 91 cent. Yeah, I would have been targeting right around here. That's obviously going to be wrong. And while I do think that we're going to have a short-term bounce here, probably back up towards about 89.25 region, I would be looking for this one to falter a little bit further south over time, as that was kind of a definitive move right there. So while I am looking for a short-term bounce here, I would look for further continuation down towards about 88 cent even, down around the 200 simple before the next sort of medium-term time frame bounce. Looking at euro dollar, what do we see here? Very similar to Swiss franc dollar, but not as bad on this week, and it has just hit the 10 simple as it is right now on the weekly. So probably going to be looking for a short-term bouncy bounce here. How high does the bounce get back up? I don't really have a strong opinion on this one. I do think that it does trade a little bit further south, though. We do have a really ugly looking head and shoulders right here, left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. And that target would very just kind of like eyeballing it, because I've done these things too many goddamn times. I'd be looking somewhere back down around low 117-ish region, actually. But short term, do we bounce this one first and maybe try back up towards 118? I don't have a strong opinion on that. So fair enough. Daily is a bit under pressure here too. Yes, I would extend that medium-term target, like I said, down to the low 117 region. Extremely short-term though, is it likely to bounce back up? Probably yes, but I don't really have a strong read on that, so I'd refrain from saying anything more. Pound yen, my favorite little shit coin. Oh baby. So yesterday we had a target back up to about 138 and a third right here. That target was obviously met and exceeded, and now we're off to the fucking races apparently. I would be looking for perhaps a short-term pullback in the areas that we're in right now, maybe back down towards around 139 even. However, I do think that it will ultimately give another try to the upside, somewhere perhaps even all the way up to the long-term trend line here, which is where I start to get interested in potentially, although I would never trade a long-term position, especially on this absolute shitcoin, back up somewhere around about 141 and some odd change. So yes, more medium and long-term, I would be looking for some upside, but short-term, a little bit of a pullback here, although I do, again, ultimately more up to go, I'd imagine. Looking at pound dollar, what do we see? This one's short-term bullish. What do we see what do we see on a 4 hour? Same thing as well. What about on a daily? Looking good here too. Probably another target back up towards about 133.5. And what about a weekly? Yeah, all these look good here actually. So I'd be looking for a little bit of short-term continuation here, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow. All time frames looking good for a little bit more upside. Yen dollar, what do we see here? Ooh, another one very similar to Swiss franc dollar, which is very interesting because both of these ones were the more healthy-ish ones. I do believe that we had a target down to the 21 here at about 94.5 cent region yesterday, or was I looking for a bounce off this level yesterday back up to 95.60? Those would have been my two targets, both bullish and bearish. But fair enough. Let's go see what the lower term time frame is looking like right here. I'd probably be looking for this one to grind it out a little bit and then try again to the upside, probably back up towards about 95.5 cent. But I would refrain from saying anything more long-term on this one while I am looking for a short-term bounce here. Yeah, to about 95.5. I really need to see the weekly close on this one if I'd still remain bullish on it, or if this is going to be one massive failure and start targeting moves back down towards maybe even 93 cent, 92 cent region over time. I guess it's not 92 cent, it's like 0.0093 if you want to be super exact. Let's go check out traditional markets. We did have a short-term downside target on NAS at 11,550. Have we met that? Hey, not bad. Actually, $3 off, Crown. Fuck you. Let's hang him. Burn him alive. He's a piece of shit. I agree. Fuck him. I hate that guy. Anyways, I would be looking for a bounce off this level. Yes, we did hit our short-term target to the downside, but probably around the time that market opens in actually very soon. Actually, very, very soon. I think we got another like 2.5 hours if my internal clock is correct, but my finish times always fucks up my head, so I don't exactly know. It's either an hour and a half or 2.5 hours from now. But yes, I would be looking for a short-term bounce back up. And do we see further continuation of the downside? I would still actually be very likely bullish on this one long-term. We did not make new highs, although we did retest the prior high, which was likely to happen this weekend. Or sorry, this weekend. I do think that there is more downside on this run, though. I do think that it will come down somewhere around like mid 10.4 fit, or not 10.4, but 11.450-ish region, and then bounce there. So I do think that any sort of a short-term bounce based off this level right here is just going to be that short-term. So maybe back up towards like 11.650-ish region, and I'd be looking for it to reach just a little bit lower, at which point I would be looking for the big bounce, so to speak. So yeah, again, I do think that this one is a little more further south to go. Again, playing opposite of Dixie as well, so keep that one in mind. What else we got? Gold, big one over here. So we said yesterday, big fucking meltdown. Yes, I'll say it right now. I think this one's coming back down to 1800 base. Don't like what it's doing here, like at all. Momentum also is just turning southwards. Rejection of the bullish control zone. Same thing with daily RSI as well, as it puts in a bit of a swing failure pattern right there too. Yeah, I would be looking towards the next base, anywhere between about 1815 to 1800 even. Let's see what the weekly aligns with as well. Not really showing anything else within there. Interesting, very, very interesting. Very interesting here, actually. I do hesitate to get a little bit more bearish on the weekly. I'm curious what the monthly looks like for reference here. Okay, yeah, the monthly does show 1800 as well. I do think sometime this month 1800, yes. Is it happening today or tomorrow? Probably not, but perhaps over these next couple weeks, yes. Short-term probably plays out a little bit of upside, maybe even back up to 1900 even, but I don't feel as confident on that one. The long-term, I feel a lot more confident on this one. Back on to Mr. Bitcoin and what zoo we got. So Bitcoin, I'm still kind of hanging on the same range that we spoke about from this morning's video. I'd be looking for this one to probably give another test to the downside of this range. In this case, that would be anywhere around about 11, or I keep on saying 11. There's something severely wrong with me, and you can imagine like when I type up my orders too, because like I speak it at the same time a lot of the time, it really fucks me up, and I've definitely made a lot of mistakes in the past, just fat fingering shit. The beautiful thing, and we were actually having a really good discussion about this in the program Discord earlier, is that the beautiful thing about having a centralized exchange is you just let your compliance officer know, and they say, all right, we're just gonna go bust that trade. It's an obvious fat finger, all good. But in crypto land, you don't got that, and you know what's even worse than that? In fucking decentralized exchange land, I mean, I think that's a fucking recipe for disaster. Imagine you're actually trading real money, or whatever is a big nominal number for you, because it's all relative, right? You know, it might be $1 million, might be $10. Who knows? As long as it's big and relevant to you. Imagine you're on a decentralized exchange, and then whatever fucking happens, that just happens over the course of, you know, infinite amount of trades or transactions. Something goes wrong. Who do you contact when your account is emptied because something wrong happened with the exchange? No one, actually. It's now the decentralized exchange, who doesn't even belong to anyone to begin with. So good luck with that. Yeah, that would be a humongously terrible position to be taking, just in my opinion, because that's infinite risk and there's no upside to that. I mean, maybe it goes in your favor once in a while too, but that's no way to make a living in my opinion. Anyways, looking at this right here, what do we see? So I would probably be looking for this one to test again to the downside of the range. In this case, that'd be anywhere between about 14, before I went on to that fucking tirade, anywhere between about 14.8 and 14.9, and I would be looking for a bounce there again. I'm just populating this so that it's relevant towards what I'm talking about right now. Obviously, the horizontal that I had before is still very much relevant, but I want to be marking off this higher low right here as it is. So while I do think that Bitcoin probably does fill out this range a little bit more, as we spoke out in this morning's video, if I go over and check out the chart that I was referencing from this morning, it'd be right here, or that doesn't look right. Why is it not saving my shit? That is annoying. That is very annoying. Oh well, we'll just go back to it right here. It's not a huge deal. I'd still be looking at something like this. And likely to spend some more time going sideways, testing both the upside and the downside of this. I don't really have a strong opinion on what the short term is. If anything, I would be looking for it to test the downside on the short term. Like I said, 14.8 to 14.9 looks good to me, but I'm still looking for resolution on this whole formation, probably coming in the next 2 days. Not today, more likely around Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Friday if things get really, really frothy here. The more time that it spends baking within here, actually, the better as far as judging it as an actual legitimate pattern and breakout, and still would have the same sort of proverbial targets. Now, if it does break below anywhere below one, a 4-hour total closure below 14.7 especially, if you want to be more aggressive, you could use 14.850. I do think that would work in this case, and if I would be trading the breakdown from this one, I would be using that same area as well. I would be targeting moves all the way down here towards about 13.8ish region. So that is $1,000 trade, to be fair, and quite big. While I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, I actually do think that Bitcoin probably just trades sideways, fills out this area a little bit more, and eventually breaks out to the upside. We still have the same sort of targets to the upside based off the fib extension and also the measure move from the formation, and also the historical horizontal that we spoke about this morning, and that was somewhere in like the mid to upper $16,000 region with a potential fake out around 16,250 it was. Let me actually just go back and reference that. Oh yeah, it's not. God damn it, man. So annoying. So annoying sometimes. But yes, that would actually fall through with this. So fair enough. As it stands right now, but technically speaking, I am more or less bullish on Bitcoin here. I'm happy to be bullish as long as Bitcoin is especially above, let's just call it 14.8 because it's easier to say, and it does cut both of those zones to the middle. As long as Bitcoin's above 14.8 on a 2-hour or 4-hour total closure, I'm happy to be more or less looking for sideways and with an upside resolution, implying targets towards the mid to upper $16,000 over time. However, if it does break below that region, like I said, targets will be initiated down towards about 13.8, and this will be a pretty nasty washout, but I don't think that's I think that's a lot less likely to happen right here. At the end of the day, I don't really play breakfast to begin with, so I'm unconcerned with these sorts of things. I just want to see Bitcoin range for as long as possible and benefit my options plays and my in my range trading. So with that said, I'd like to wish you the best once again. Take care, and until next time.